folks, we'll go ahead and start. This is Bebe Bryans. Bebe is the head coach at the University of Wisconsin. Has been at many other schools, started the program at Michigan State. She was at Georgetown. She was out west. Bebe and I have worked together with the national team and had a great friendship for 30 years or so. There was a period there where she didn't like me much.
Everybody goes through that.
What's that? Everybody goes through that, right, right. Well, Bebe has come to talk. And she came all the way out here from Wisconsin to talk about, and I'll leave it to her.
Oh, thanks. Well, actually, I'm first of all thrilled to be here to talk with a group of high school coaches who I hold in such high esteem. I think what you do is so important for our sport and for our kids. So I just want to start by saying thank you. And in thinking about the opportunity to come and speak with a group of high school coaches, I had the opportunity to think what would be the most important thing that I could share with you. And I usually, when I go and speak to groups, I usually talk about coaching education, or I talk about team building, or stuff within your teams that can help. But what I really wanted to talk to you about was not recruiting, but what happens to your kids once they come to college. Because you hear a lot about recruiting, and you hear a lot about technique, and you hear from your individual kids what's happening to them, or what they perceive as happening to them at the time. But from the coach's perspective, what are we seeing, and what are the commonalities that we're seeing across programs, your programs, and across our programs? So a little bit of my background: I coached high school programs. I coached high school junior rowing for about 15 years, the first 15 years of my career. And that included all ranges of it, from beginners to national team. So I have that perspective. I got the opportunity to start the Pacific Rowing Club back in the day, and we became a pretty successful program at that time. So I was working with teams that weren't as good and teams that became very good, and then I went on to coach college, and I started at a D3 program at Mills College, women's college in Oakland, California, and moved through across the country, and now I'm back in the Midwest. My zip code's going back up, but I'm also moving north, and I'm not quite sure how that's working. But the commonalities are more than the differences, both between the high school programs that we're seeing kids come in from and the colleges that they're going into. So I thought I had a sort of a good perspective to share with you, and I talked with a lot of my colleagues about what they're seeing, and we're all seeing pretty much the same thing. And so some things that maybe you can be aware of to help your kids maybe avoid some of the pitfalls of that first year college experience. You have a unique perspective, you have a unique opportunity because you're not their parents, for the most part, usually. And yet they look to you for guidance, maybe more so than their parents, because they didn't pick their parents, but they did probably pick you at some level. So you can influence them, and we find that a lot of the kids keep talking to their high school coaches after they come to college. So you remain an influence on them after they leave you, okay? So my own observations, my own and my staff, who deal with a lot of freshmen. We had 150 women start rowing at Wisconsin this year, and that's pretty much normal for us. So we get a lot of kids coming in. And so what I'm going to share with you are the most common pitfalls of experienced rowers in their first semester and first year of college, and what maybe you guys can do to help them with that. So what are the most common pitfalls? Pitfall number one is their attitude about school. I got in. How hard can it be? I obviously know how to study. I'm smart enough to be here. I got this. Pitfall number one. Okay? Then the mid-semester grades come out, and all hell breaks loose, usually. Especially if they were straight A students in high school, because they get that first B or that first C, or heaven forbid they get a D. And then, of course, it's rowing. I can't row because I'm failing in school. So that's pitfall number one. And all students go through this, not just rowers, not just athletes. All students go through it. But with athletes, you have NCAA regulations to worry about. They have to maintain a certain GPA. They have to pass a certain number of classes to be eligible. So there's that added level of performance anxiety. They have to do certain things academically, not just to please their parents, but to actually stay on the team and to be able to compete. Pitfall number 2 are the expectations that they come in with. And there's a gamut of expectations, depending on them and depending on where they're going. And I appreciated the earlier speaker saying it's important to be realistic about where you're going to fit into the program that you're going to. And it's also very important to pick the school first and then the rowing program. So that's just a little bit of a thank you to him for bringing that out. So expectations. I'm going to go in and I'm going to be the best rower on the team. And this is especially true for recruits that are going into novice programs. They're going in and they're going to at least start with the novice team. I'm going to be the best one there because I've rowed before and because I row for a really good program and I was the best rower on my team. Well, a good example at Wisconsin is we get a lot of walk-ons. We get a lot of walk-ons that are extraordinarily good athletes in other sports that either weren't quite good enough to do their sport at a D1 level or they just hated their sport and didn't want to do it anymore. That was me. So those recruits are right. For the first month, they're going to be the best rower on the team. And then they won't be if they don't progress like the walk-ons progress. Okay? So pitfall number 1, I got this academically. I'm going to be the best rower on the team. Going in, I know that. Or they're a recruit that's going straight up to the varsity level. I'm going to be the worst one on the team. I'm just going to survive this first year, survive the first semester, just going to get through it. You know, I'm with all of these other top college athletes, so I'm just going to survive. I'm going to keep my head above water and go. How successful do you think they're going to be with that expectation going in? It's problematic. Number 3, and this is pretty common. I know how to row. I got it. I know how to row. Yes, you do know how to row. And you guys are doing a great job. But every college program, just like every high school program, has a little bit of a different technique. Okay? So if they go in with the mindset of, I know how to do this already, they're going to be resistant to change. If they're resistant to change, they're going to get passed. Okay? This is another big one. And you probably are, you see it especially amongst your seniors, the people that have been rowing for 3 or 4 years. I already know what I can do. And or I already know what I can't do. So those expectations can be very limiting to that athlete. We see that a lot. Well, I can't pull below 730 because I've never been able to do that before. Come with me. I can help you. Okay? This is going to be so much better than high school. Or it could never be better than high school. Set up for disaster, because they're right. One of those two things will be true if that's the expectation that they have coming in. I can just, this is my last summer before college. I'm just going to have a good time. I can get in shape when I get there because I'm going to be so much better than everybody else. So they come in out of shape. Oh, it's painful to watch. So those are the main expectation pitfalls that we see across the board. D1, D3. Really fast schools, not so fast schools. It's the same thing. The other big one that I think made me want to really talk about this was, and it's something I always tell when people come on recruiting visits, I try to get them to see this. We're recruiting the best kids we can. We're open to anybody. Anybody that wants to come and row at Wisconsin, we'd love to have them come and row. But when we're recruiting for the top kids. So when they come in on visits, we're taking this kid that has reached the pinnacle of their high school career. They've gone through all this stuff, all of this building, all this learning, all this experience, all this racing, and they are at the top of their heap. And now they're probably going to start back where they started 4 years ago. Because they're going to be freshmen. They're going to be the first year in a 4-year program. Okay? So that can be really demeaning for some people. They don't want us, when they were novices, they didn't know anything. So everything was new, it was fresh, it was exciting. Now they know all of this stuff, but they got to be novices again in a certain way. They got to start this new experience over again. So I just try to tell them, you've gotten all this stuff, that's all of this learning, all of this experience, now it forms your base. And now you get to create a whole new set of experiences, performance, all that good stuff will now be coming to you. So don't look at it as having to start over. Looking at it as you've got all of this to work with, and now we go from here. So that would be super helpful for you guys to just reinforce and reinforce and reinforce. You're not starting over. You get to start fresh. And in my mind, there's a big difference there, because we want that experience, but we also want the beginner's mind. So those are the main pitfalls. What are the realities? College rowing and high school rowing. High school rowing is an apple, college rowing is an orange. Lot in common. They're both fruits, and they're both really good for you. But if you are expecting to take a big bite out of your piece of fruit, and you think it's an apple, and it's actually an orange, you're going to be really surprised. A lot of kids are really surprised because they are expecting an apple, high school rowing, no matter what we tell them, and they get an orange. It's different. And these are the ways that it's different. Their lives have just changed completely. It's probably the biggest change that they've ever experienced in their lives or will. Okay? So that's just one big reality that we are dealing with as college coaches of freshman athletes, which God bless freshman coaches everywhere. God bless them. God bless you, and then God bless them. So they need to set priorities. They need to set new priorities and go through that process. And our coaches help them do that. That first semester, we have all of our recruits row freshmen that first semester at least, because we want them to get their feet on the ground. We want them to get settled in without having the stress of being a top-level varsity athlete. And we find that they're very appreciative of that. It's not a cut to them, it's actually a support to them. If they think at any point from the summer before, anytime through their freshman year, I got this about anything. School, rowing, social life, I've got it completely under control, we have a problem. Because they never completely got it. We just had a kid that is now academically ineligible. We've been meeting with her all semester. How's it going? We're hearing this. We have incredible academic support, which I really recommend when your recruits are looking at colleges. Look and see what academic support they get from their athletic department. At Wisconsin, it is just spectacular. You would be silly not to row at Wisconsin because of the support that you get academically. So, she said, I got it, I'm on it, I got it. She so didn't have it. And then she's like, I don't know what happened. I had it. So take advantage of the opportunities that are presented. Encourage them to do that, even if they don't think they need it. The more expectations they have, the more potential for disappointment. Go in with an open mind. It's going to be hard. It's going to be harder than anything they've ever done. If it's not, good for them. But if they expect it to be hard, they're in a better place than if they don't expect it to be hard. School's going to be harder, rowing's going to be harder, life's going to be harder, prioritizing and scheduling is going to be harder. If you can help them expect that, we would just really appreciate that. It's hard to catch up if you start from behind. Okay? Even if you go into a team that has a lot of walk-ons like ours. Those kids are fired up to start something new. And they're good athletes. You're going to get stomped if you're not ready when you come in. So, especially if they've been recruited, they should come in ready to go and start thinking about they're a recruited athlete, especially if they're on scholarship. This is you know, I don't like to think of it as a job, but on the other hand, you wouldn't go to work, you know, a half an hour late without your stuff, right? So they should have that mindset of, this is really important to me, I'm going to be ready to go. And lastly, with the reality is the team experience will be whatever they make it. Whatever they decide it's going to be, that's what it's going to be. So they can sit back and wait for things to happen to them, or they can step forward and make it work for them. And probably if they do that, the whole team is going to get better, and that's what we're hoping is going to happen. So what help can you give them? What advice can you give them when they call you and say, oh my God, I want to quit. I hate this. This is not what I thought it was going to be. It's too hard. What advice can you give them? Because you're going to get those phone calls. If you haven't yet, you will. Especially if you ramp up your communication with them. Okay? You're going to continue, again, to be that influence in their lives. Encourage them to communicate with their coaches, the coaches that they have now. If they can't, if they don't feel comfortable talking to their coaches, see if you can get them to spread the glass that they have to kneel across to get into the coach's office to go in and talk to them, honestly. Or use their captains, or use their assistant coaches, but talk to somebody other than their teammate who's going through the same thing, who's going to reinforce what they're going through. That's not helpful. Communication. Make them talk to somebody. Encourage them to talk to somebody. One day at a time. Take it one day at a time and have a beginner's mind where every day they're going to learn something new. Every day they can get out of their comfort zone and learn something new. Huge, 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 huge. It's different. It doesn't have to be better. It's different. It's a new experience. It's okay. It doesn't have to be their everything. Maybe it was in high school, but they want to do some other things in college. That's okay. I encourage that. Study and get help before you need it. See it through. 1 year commitment. 1 year commitment, especially if they're recruited athletes. For you guys, it does not look good if we've got multiple kids from a program that quit in November. We're not going to recruit very hard from your programs, okay? Because that's showing us that that's a mindset that they're somehow learning there, especially if it's endemic, then it's us, obviously, and we always take it personally. But 1 year commitment. See it through. Step up. Find a leadership niche within the program that they can serve. And that'll help them get out of themselves. And advice that I can give you when you're talking to them, push them. Don't coddle them. Push them. Just like you did as their coach. Encourage that relationship with their new coach. Some coaches like to hold on to the relationship that they have with that athlete. You'll always have that. Encourage them to find that with their new coaches. And last but not least, enjoy their success because you earned it. You are an integral part of what they are becoming, and that will never change. So enjoy it, revel in it, and know how much we appreciate and thank your efforts. So with that, I'll say thank you.
One minute, any follow-up questions for the Bryans?
Sir. We don't, to begin with. The walk-ons, everybody that wants to row can row. It's sort of self-culling. We don't have to make cuts. The work does that for us. As far as recruited athletes go, we do use erg times. We have to. You know, if we get 200 letters from kids, we have to use some standard, and it's a good standard to use, especially for Wisconsin because we're on the ergs a lot. So, you know, we look at that erg time, but then we also look at the kid. How successful have they been on the water? If they're a sculler and have won races, that's going to be really helpful. And also if they don't erg a lot, if they're on a team that doesn't erg very much, that matters. So we take all of those things into consideration. But it is an important part of recruiting. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, my top recruit last year was the woman that was our single scholar for the junior championships. And she's, I mean, we couldn't ask for more other than she could be a little bit taller. That would be nice. Yeah, but that being said, obviously I don't care that she's not taller, you know? So I think sculling is incredibly valuable and incredibly important.
Coach Bryans will be here for lunch.
Yep.
And if you want to call us, that would be a great time.
Thanks. Thank you.
Great job.